Alright guys, this is the second half of the review for Chapter 8. We're going to work the last 2 pages starting on number 25. Number 25 is a trapezoid. When I look at this, they also give me the mid-segment, which is 20. So I know that that's my M for mid-segment. Remember, the mid-segment formula is adding your 2 bases together and dividing by 2. So in this case, my mid-segment is 20. That's going to replace the M. Base 1 is 9. Base 2 is x. And I still need to divide that by 2. I'm kind of running out of room here, you guys, so I'm going to show more work down here. But once I get to this issue right here, I don't like that divide by 2, so that needs to be the first thing I get rid of. The opposite of dividing by 2 is to multiply. And when I multiply on the right side by 2, it's to get rid of that fraction. So those just totally eliminate each other, but I'm still left with 9 plus x on the right side. And then on the left side, I have 2 times 20, which would give me 40. Remember, if you had a group on the left side, you have to distribute to every piece of the group. And then from here, to get x by itself, I'm going to move the 9 over by subtracting, which would give me x equals 31. No degrees here because remember these are just segment lengths. All right, let's look at number 27. 27, not only did they tell us this, but I can tell by looking that it is a trapezoid, and more specifically, it's isosceles. Remember with isosceles trapezoids, just like an isosceles triangle, you have congruent angles along the base, and you also have congruent legs. So A and B are congruent, and they want me to find pretty much all the missing angles and the value of x. Well, let's start with the congruent legs. The legs are the sides that are not considered bases, and
I'm sorry, I left something in
yeah, sure. So the legs are not the bases. Remember, their bases are parallel. And since they're congruent, that means that 16x minus 24 equals 10x plus 12.
See you, have a nice day.
And I'm going to solve for x by subtracting 10x from both sides, which leaves me 6x minus 24 equals 12, because those cancel out. Then I'm going to add 24 to both sides, which gives me 6x equals 36. And on my last step is to divide by 6, which allows me to say that x is 6. Now, x is not representing a whole side, nor is it an angle, so it's not going to have any units on this one. The next things they want us to do are find the angles. Now, when I look at this problem, C is along the same base as D, which means that D is automatically 114 degrees. And remember, when you move up the legs, the bases are congruent, but up the leg, add to equal 180. So that means if I take 180 and subtract out 114, that leaves me with 66 degrees. Y'all, that's 114. I don't know if y'all can tell that. Sorry, kind of sloppy. So that means B is 66 degrees. And we already see that A and B are congruent, but I know they're going to be congruent because they're along the same base as each other, so A will also be 66 degrees. All right, number 29. 29 is a great problem. It's probably one of the most difficult problems on this test, so make sure you know your solve by systems. So I have parallelogram A, B, C, D. Things I know about a parallelogram are that they opposite sides are parallel, so I look for alternate interior. I know that opposite sides are congruent. I know that opposite angles are congruent, and I also know that the diagonals bisect each other. So I need to look at what piece they're giving me here. AE is inside, it's a piece of the diagonal, and that's 7x minus 4y. DE is 2x minus 3y. EC is 27, and EB is 4. You guys, when you make sure when you're copying those down that you're reading them properly, and don't forget to like put a variable in there or something like that. because it'll totally throw off your answer. Looking at these pieces, it looks like they've given me diagonals, which means I know that the diagonals are bisecting each other, aka cutting them in half. So that 7x minus 4y is equal to 27. And I'm going to write that equation. Oops, hello, you can't see that. There we go. And then I know 2x minus 3y is equal to 4. Now the reason I write them on top of each other is because there's two variables and two different equations. If I write them on top of each other, I can see elimination method a lot better. Unfortunately with this one, you can't just multiply one equation to cancel out. So I'm just going to pick, let's just say I pick the x's to multiply and cancel out. Doesn't matter which one you pick, but if you pick y's, you'll multiply by different numbers. And since I have to multiply to get rid of these and they're not multiples of each other, I'm just going to pick the opposite number. So like 7x, the other number is 2, so I'm going to multiply this one by 2. And then the bottom one is 2, so I'm going to multiply that by the top number, which is 7. And since they're already the same symbol in front of them, they're both positive, I need to make one of these negative, doesn't matter which one, so that when I multiply, they'll end up being opposite signs. So now I'm going to rewrite both equations. Make sure you distribute all the way across. So negative 2 times 7x is negative 14x. Negative 2 times negative 4 is a positive 8y. Negative 2 times 27 gives me a negative 54. Now I'm going to do the same thing with the bottom equation. 7 times 2x is 14x. 7 times negative 3y is negative 21y. And 7 times 4 is a positive 28. Now, since I've dealt with my signs already, I can just add my equations together. A negative 14x and a positive 14x cancel out, which means I totally picked the right numbers and I did it right. So now I'm going to combine my y's. A negative 21 plus 8 is going to give me negative 13y. And a negative 54 plus 28 is a negative 26. And when I divide both sides by negative 13, I get a y equals 2. So I can go ahead and write 2 over there. Now to find your x, you can take this 2 and just plug back into the original equation, or one of them. It doesn't matter which one. I'm going to pick the 2x minus 3y equals 4, just because that's smaller numbers. And I like small numbers. So 2x minus, instead of 3 times y, I'm going to put what I found for y to equal. So that would give me 2x minus 6 equals 4. I'm going to add 6 to both sides, which gives me 2x equals 10. And therefore, divide by 2, x would give me 5. All right, you guys. Number 31 is the next question. 31 is a parallelogram is all I know right now. And they gave me angle 1 is 4x. Angle 2 is 6x, and angle CED, the whole angle, is 100 degrees. Now, when I look at this problem, I'm thinking, did they give me too much information? But really, in a parallelogram, what do you know about E and K, since they're totally opposite of each other, is that they're going to be congruent. Opposite angles are congruent. Well, all of angle E is 100, so that's going to be equal to all of angle K, which is made up of 4x and another 6x. 4x plus 6x is really 10x's. And now I can solve the equation that we've written. X is just going to be equal to 10. And I can plug that back in just to make sure I'm right. 4 times 10 is 40. 6 times 10 is 60. Do 40 and 60 add to 100? Which they do, so I know I'm right. All right, last question, number 33. 33 is a kite. I know this because the next door sides are congruent to each other. I also know it because they told me. And they're asking about angles of a kite. You guys, I can't go anywhere with this kite really until I notice that my diagonals of my kite are perpendicular. Those are all 90 degrees in there, which already tells me angle 2 is going to be 90 degrees. Now that I have that 90 degrees, I can kind of solve for some missing triangles or missing angles. Like for example, this is a triangle. I know it should add up to 180. So if I take 90 and 50 and add those together to get 140 and subtract that out from 180, that leaves angle 1 to be 40 degrees. I could do the same thing on this right triangle up here. 90 plus 26 is 116. And if I subtract 180 or 116 from 180, that leaves me with 64. So that means angle 5 is 64 degrees. Now before I go any further, I'm going to make less work on myself and use my line of symmetry. Remember, in a kite, your line of symmetry is the long diagonal, which means when I fold this, and I'm actually going to fold my paper so you guys can see it a little bit better. When I fold this kite, what happens is that the 3 over here lines up with 26. So that means that 3 is also 26 degrees. They match up. And when I fold over the 4 is going to match up with the 1, which is 40 degrees. 6, when I fold that over, is going to line up with the 50. And 7 is going to line up with 5, which is 64. So I know that 6 and 7 are both 50 and 64. And you guys, don't be embarrassed if you need to actually fold your paper. Sometimes that really helps being able to visualize it a little bit better. All right, you guys, if you're still struggling, you need to come in for tutoring. Your test is Tuesday, which will be February 2nd. Yeah, February 2nd. So make sure you're coming in to get help and asking questions in class. All right.